one of the examples that comes to mind about someone who is actually in a point of desperation where they're experiencing something really bad and they're just throwing everything they can at the problem and coming up with some highly unlikely solution is Mikhaila Peterson, or Jordan Peterson's daughter, who had, I believe it was juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and potentially some autoimmune conditions, and those seemed to be put at least into remission when she went onto an all meat diet. And I want to be clear that I'm not advocating that anyone go on an all meat diet, let's say, but I am using this as an example of someone who went about who was in a difficult situation, had a problem, tried a number of things, and was able to come to a highly unlikely conclusion or solution that works for that person because of a place of desperation and kind of like a necessity to solve the problem.
Well, and I feel like something like going on an all meat diet, like I remember when you first told me about that, I was like, I didn't even believe you because I was like, that's not a thing. Eating only
Yeah, I
meat?
mean,
How on earth would you do that? Like, I didn't even believe it, or it's such an outrageous idea for a diet. But I think that only goes to show, like, in order to actually adopt something like that, you have to be at a place where you're so desperate for something that you're willing to accept something like that or adopt something like that or even just try it just in case it
yeah.
might help.
I mean,
Now
yeah,
unless you're like one of those, gym bros who eat steak for breakfast and lunch and dinner and like you'd be perfectly happy
sure.
never
Yeah.
eating anything except steak. But other than, I mean, you know what I mean, like the idea of just eating just meat, I mean, that sounds crazy
Yeah,
too.
I mean, it does. When I first heard it, I agree. Like, it sounds crazy. And I want to be clear. Like, I have not tried eating all meat for any lengthy period of time. You've not done so. And, like, I don't know that I'm going to try it. I'm not advocating that people do. But, again, like, when you're in a place of desperation, when there's a serious problem, and you're throwing everything at the wall. That's how you encounter certain things like this. And perhaps eating an all meat diet helps 0.0000001% of the population. And if it helps you with something that's seriously unbelievably chronic and you're able to remove that ailment by eating this diet and you want to do that, and it's worth it to you, then more power to you. Like, I'm unbelievably happy for you if you're able to figure out something like that. I think the issue often is that people see these problems and in their own life, whether it's something as seemingly trivial as having back issues or not getting great sleep, and they don't realize just how much that thing may affect them. Like, you can sit here and go, oh yeah, well, I just have back issues every once in a while, or I don't get great sleep. Well, if you're not getting great sleep, that really adds up. If you're not getting enough sleep, if you're frequently having even headaches on a daily basis, if there's some larger thing that occurs every single week and is an issue, like, this compounds over time. If you're having a sleepless night and you're up for an hour every single night, like, that's hundreds and hundreds of hours a year that are wasted because of some problem. And I think oftentimes people will see that as the trees and not for the forest that it becomes in mass.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I think most definitely. Because it's really easy just to fall into a daily habit of like just get through this day,
Hmm.
get through this week, get through this,
Yeah.
that you parse up your life so much into these little time increments you're trying to get through that
Hmm.
it's like, okay, well, I got through this difficult week at work. Cool, I'm going to call that a win. And now it's out of my mind. Like
Yeah.
something happened, this issue that I've been running into, yeah, this came up, but like it's over now. It's out of my mind. I'm not going to think about it again.
Yeah.
Of course, until it happens the next week. And then you have to think about it again, but you just tackle them as they come, and you don't look at the bigger thing of, okay, how can I maybe solve these issues at the core of what they are, rather than just facing the tiny battles as they come.
Yeah. And I think, when you obviously need to sit here and resolve that which is in front of you, but you also need to take a second to look up and look at the bigger picture and understand, like, maybe you ought to be trying to solve the core of an issue if it's something recurring. You want to,
Yeah.
especially with things like that, investigate every solution under the sun that you can conceive of.